you started subscribing to the Adobe Creative Cloud on day 1 in 2013, you have currently paid approximately $8,000. For that price, you could have bought a 2012 Honda Civic, except you can't drive the Adobe. The moment you stop paying, the doors lock. Your files, your life's work become hostages. In the industry, we call this software as a service. In reality, it's closer to a digital protection racket. Welcome to the era of the software landlord. Today we're looking at the blueprint of this trap, the math of your slow financial leak, and the tools that will let you evict Adobe forever. There is a specific free tool that does 90% of what Photoshop does without the monthly interrogation of your bank account. I'll show it to you shortly, but first we need to understand how the cage was built. Before 2013, you bought software like you bought a toaster. You paid for it, it lived on your desk, and it worked until it broke or you decided you wanted a shinier toaster. This was perpetual licensing. But Adobe realized that selling you a toaster once is bad for quarterly growth. It's much better to rent you the heating element by the minute. This is the SaaS pivot. It turned a one-time transaction into a terminal parasite. Let's look at the ledger. $60 a month feels like a rounding error, but over a 40-year career, that is $28,800. That is not a subscription, that's a mid-sized inheritance spent on the ability to hit undo. And if you try to leave, Adobe pioneered the early termination fee. They charge you money for the privilege of no longer giving them money. It's the digital equivalent of a breakup fee at the end of a bad date. The first gate to the prison is Photoshop. It's become a verb, which is the ultimate marketing victory. But unless you are retouching the cover of Vogue, you are likely overpaying for features you'll never touch. Enter Affinity Photo. It is the professional's silent protest. It looks like Photoshop, acts like Photoshop, but it has one radical feature. You pay for it once, around $70, and the landlord is gone. If $70 is still too much for your starving artist aesthetic, there's GIMP. It's open source, powerful, and has a user interface designed by people who clearly hate human joy. But it's free forever. Then there is Photopea. It's a browser-based miracle that is so similar to Photoshop, it's practically a glitch in the matrix. It's free, it's fast, and it doesn't require a background check to open a PSD file. Next, Illustrator, the vector king. If you're tired of the monthly tribute, Affinity Designer is the scalpels out alternative. It's faster, cleaner, and doesn't bloat your RAM like a digital sponge. For the true open source warrior, there is Inkscape. It's the Swiss Army knife you found in the woods. A bit rusty, slightly confusing, but it will cut through anything if you know how to hold it. By the way, I built a directory of 200 plus, one-time purchase alternatives to the subscriptions bleeding you dry. It's called the Owned Life Directory, link below, and it costs less than 1 month of Creative Cloud. Now let's talk about Premiere Pro, a program famous for crashing exactly 3 minutes before your deadline. It's the unreliable narrator of video editing. You pay for the stress as much as the timeline. The alternative isn't just a substitute, it's an upgrade. DaVinci Resolve. It's used to color grade Hollywood blockbusters, and the standard version is completely free. It's like being offered a Ferrari because you're tired of renting a Corolla. If Resolve is too heavy for your laptop, CapCut Desktop or Shotcut provide the escape velocity you need. They are simple, punchy, and don't require a monthly sacrifice to the Adobe gods. But the biggest racket isn't even the creative tools, it's Acrobat. Adobe charges you $15 a month to edit a PDF. Editing a PDF should be a human right, not a premium luxury. Use PDF Gear, it's free. Use LibreOffice, it's free. Even your browser can do half of what Acrobat does. Paying Adobe for PDF editing is like paying a subscription for the air inside your house. And then there's the corporate standard, Microsoft Office. They've convinced every office worker in the world that they need to rent a spreadsheet. We are paying monthly for cells and rows. LibreOffice is the resistance. It's not as pretty. It doesn't have a flashy AI assistant named Clippy's Ghost, but it opens every Excel file ever made, and it costs exactly $0. The ledger entry for this section: by switching from the full Adobe and Microsoft suites to Affinity and LibreOffice, you save over $800 per year. That is a permanent 10% raise for doing nothing. The counter argument is always the workflow. But everyone uses Adobe, they cry. This is the Stockholm syndrome of the creative industry. We are defending the people who change our locks every 30 days. Modern alternatives export to PSD, SVG, and .docx. The walls of the walled garden are made of cardboard. You just have to be willing to walk through them. The catch? There isn't one, other than a weekend spent learning where the buttons moved. Adobe counts on your laziness. They bet $28,000 that you won't spend 5 hours learning a new interface. The industry term for this is technically having you by the throat. But once you own your tools, you own your time. Your computer becomes an instrument again, rather than a terminal for your landlord's profit. By the way, I built a directory of 200 plus one-time purchase alternatives to the subscriptions bleeding you dry. It's called the Owned Life Directory, link below, and it costs less than 1 month of Creative Cloud. The escape is simple. Download one alternative today. Don't cancel yet, just try it. Realize that the pixels look the same whether you rent the brush or own it. Then send the "I'm moving out" email. In the end, software should be a machine you master, not a debt you service. Stop being a tenant, start being an owner. I'll see you in the directory.